Okay, now we're looking at number 3. Let me read you the problem first. And remember, I'm showing you the video, but the problem is in the slide. The math exam scores for a class are shown below. Make a data display. What percent of the scores are 90 and greater? So they can be 90 and greater. Looking at these scores, there are 20 of them, and they were like 91, 68, 83, 75, 81, 99, 97, and so on. Okay, so I decided let's make a frequency table, and then we'll make the histogram based on that. Okay, I know my fat marker is a little bit hard to see in there. You'll see on the histogram it's a lot harder to see, but these are the groups. So I went through, and I know that all the way together there are 20 pieces of data, so I just want to make sure that I represent all of those. So when I look at my list, 60 through 69, I have two scores that were in the 60s. And notice I picked 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 100. I picked that because the question said 90% and greater, so I just figured that could be my last section. And it was in a higher score. If it would have been 80, I still would have picked 80 as a section and 90 as a section. Okay. Just using my number sense. Okay. And if you have problems with those kind of things, that's okay to ask for help on. Okay. So there were 2 in the 60s range. In the 70s range, I counted I have 4. In the 80s range, I have 7. And in the 80s range, I had 7. And in the 90s range, I had 7. I wanted to just make sure I have all 20 represented. So 14, and then 6 more is 20. So I have 20 pieces of data. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to move over here to my histogram. Now you'll see how my numbers down here are really hard to read, but you can see up above what those sections are. Okay, so now I'm going to fill my histogram. So 60 went up to 2. So I'm going to take this section and I'm going to color it in. Okay, 70 to 79 was 4. This one I'm not going to color in just so I can see the difference. 80 to 89 is up here to about 7, so I'm about right here. Color that in. And then that last section, I know, not colored in is nice. That last section is also 7. So it's nice that they're different, I did, varied colors so I can see the difference there. Okay, then let's go back to the question. The question says, what percent of the scores are 90 or greater? So what percent are 90 or greater? Okay, now notice, I ask you guys to write things. That's not a lot. That's not going to break your arm. You can put, the question was, what percent has a score of 90 or above? Really easy. Those are things I understand. Okay, so I know I'm going to take this information down here, and first of all, it's out of 20. So I'm going to definitely put that on bottom. Then I'm going to look over here, and it looks like I can tell already, and I counted them up. I have 7, right? 7 were 90 or above. What percent is 90 and above? Couple things I can do. I can flip this over on its side and divide 20 into 7 because we know a fraction or a ratio like this is like a division problem. I can do that. I can also be thinking, so that's one way. Or I'm going to slide this down. So I can do the math here. Remember, I'd have to put a decimal, and it'd probably end up going into another decimal, okay? Because we know it's got to be out of, a percent is out of 100, so I usually think about going 2 decimal places past the decimal. Or the other one I can do is think, how could I make 20 100? Well, if I was to times 20 by 5, I can make that 100, right? Oh, you can't even see that. Let me scooch her down. There we go. So if I multiplied that by 5, and whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom, I get 35. And my percent is out of 100, right? So 35%. Makes sense? So up here, doing the math, it would have been 365. And then I change that decimal into a percent. Same deal. All right, awesome. That's number 3. And we have one more example.